This video is sponsored by The Ridge. Get 10% off your order and free worldwide shipping by going to ridge.com/nameexplain and by using the code NAMEXPLAIN. You may or may not know that as much as I love names, there's something else in life I love just as much, if not more so. With that of course being the 90s craze from Japan. From the anime to the cards to the video games that started it all, I'm obsessed with Pokémon. I'm fortunate enough to have been of the age where I got to grow up with Pokémon. I was a kid when the first games came out and I've watched the series develop and change as I have developed and changed myself. It's a subject I've actually covered before a very long time ago on this channel. Hey, I even have a tattoo of Squirtle hugging a Pokeball on my forearm. That's how much I love this series, and as this video will show, I'm still playing the new games to this day. Now I understand this really isn't the kind of topic area I usually cover. I'm no Jay Witt or anything like that. So if you aren't a Pokemon fan like myself, let me briefly explain what these games are all about. In the world of Pokemon, you have these creatures with a variety of powers, and the aim of a Pokemon trainer is to catch these wild Pokemon and train them to compete in battles with other Pokemon trainers. In these games you explore the land, beat strong Pokemon trainers called gym leaders, and eventually work your way up to become the Pokemon champion, along with catching them all, as you may have heard, and sometimes you stop some bad guys / save the world along the way, no big deal. The success of the initial Pokemon games has led to many sequels coming out. However, these follow-up games aren't really referred to as sequels like with a lot of other media, instead being referred to as generations, and each generation of games gives players new Pokemon, characters, gameplay mechanics, and a new world to play in. In the games, these worlds are known as regions, with these regions being seen as different parts of a much larger Pokemon world, which honestly is a really neat way of explaining why the new Pokemon weren't in the previous world's games, as those Pokemon aren't native to those parts of the world, much like where various animals aren't native to various parts of our world. So far in the main series of games there have been 8 different regions. What's interesting about these regions is that they are actually based on real world places. The first 4 regions of Kanto, Johto, Hoenn and Sinnoh are all based on various regions of Japan. The 5th region of Unova is based on New York City and the New York State area as a whole. The 6th region of Kalos is based on France, and the 7th region of Alola is based on Hawaii. These Pokemon regions are full of references to the real life places they are based upon, with these references being the locations and Pokemon of the region. Take the Kalos region, which I just mentioned is based on France. The biggest city in this region, Lumiere City, is clearly based off Paris, with their own Eiffel Tower. There's even the Pokemon Furfrou from this region, which is based on the French Poodle, and likewise over on the Hawaiian based region of Alola we have the Pokemon of Comfey, which is based on Alei, the traditional Hawaiian garland of flowers. Though I've only talked about the first 7 regions of the Pokemon world. This year we were introduced to the 8th generation of Pokemon games, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, new Pokemon games come out in pairs, each with slightly different Pokemon to promote playing with friends and working together to help catch them all. Anyway, the region that these games are set in is called Galar. What makes me so excited about this region is that it's heavily based on the United Kingdom, which as a Brit myself is something of a dream come true, as it seems that the British references are seriously strong, compared to other games and their real world references, though maybe that's just because I'm British myself and I'm picking up on them all. It's something I've fallen head over heels in love with about this game, so apologies if this video seems somewhat self-indulgent. I'm just so excited about this and want to share it with you all. From the locations to the Pokemon to even the language used in the games, it seems most things have been given a British lick of paint, and of course perhaps most importantly to myself, the wonderfully British names within these games. Pokemon has always been a series that's taken pride in its nomenclature. From the very start the games have been very clever with their naming. In the first game set in the Kanto region, all the towns and cities had names relating to colours and paints, like with Lavender Town, Fuchsia City and even Pallet Town. All the professors in these games have had names relating to types of trees and plant life, starting with Professor Oak and with Professor Magnolia in the most recent games. And of course the names of Pokemon themselves are magnificent. They can range from pretty silly to not as clear to understand things, like an owl Pokemon being called Hoot Hoot, to pun / portmanteau names like Wingull, which is a combination of wing and seagull, as well this Pokemon is based on a seagull, to names that relate to more of our real world like Gengar, which is thought to either derive from the term doppelganger, to even Gengangar, a ghost of Scandinavian folklore, which yes we covered in that very first Pokemon video. A lot of the names of the Pokemon and places of Galar however are so well tied into British culture it puts a huge smile on my face. It's these names I want to cover as they're just so wonderfully British, so as a Brit who loves names and Pokemon, I'd really love to share them with you, and just why they are so brilliant. However, I must admit that while my videos videos I usually accompany my sources down below, a lot of these etymologies are coming from my own ideas and theorizing. Though a huge thank you has to go to Bulbapedia, who are a great source of Pokemon etymologies, and I guess I ought to say spoilers for this one, just as these games are still pretty new. Let's start with that name of Galar itself. I read online that this word means plague in Irish, and how this could relate to the story of the games, but from my own interpretation a very different word came to mind: gallant. Gallant is a word that means brave and heroic and is often used to describe knights who were very important in British history. It could even relate to the name of a certain knight in particular, Sir Galahad, one of King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table, aka the one played by Michael Palin in the Holy Grail. Like I said, that's just my own interpretation of the name however. As for the towns and cities that make up Galar, well, all of these have wonderfully British names too. In fact, you could see many of these names and think they were real places here in the UK, they're that good. This is because all of these settlements use settlement suffixes we actually have in the UK. Take Postwick, the starting town. This wick suffix means produce of a farm, and we still see it here in the UK with Chiswick in example. Wedgehurst uses the Hurst suffix, which is seen with Staplehurst in real life, with Hurst meaning wooded hill. Motorstoke uses Stoke, which is a name unto itself, which simply means settlement. Turffield uses the field suffix, which unsurprisingly means open land, aka field, and is seen in the real world with the likes of Sheffield. Holbury uses the Bury suffix, which can be seen with the likes of Canterbury and means fort. Still on side use the classic something on something naming convention like we see of Kingston upon Thames. Ballonlea uses the Lea suffix, which means woodland clearing. Sirchester uses the Chester suffix like we see of Manchester, which meant a Roman fort. Spikemouth uses the mouth suffix like we see of Portsmouth and means an opening of water. And the capital of Galar, Windon, is literally just 2 letters different from London. So I'm sure you can understand what I meant when I said that these names are seriously British and could easily be mistaken for real places. The only exception seems to be Hammerlock, which is a name based on the Holder Hammerlock. Still, the name sounds rather British. Though, what about the Pokemon themselves? Many of these Pokemon are based on British ideas, however not all their names are related closely to specifically British things. Say like Yamper, a Corgi Pokemon, but that name doesn't tie to anything British in particular. Same goes for other very British Pokemon like Mr. Rhyme based on Charlie Chaplin, Alcremie based on Strawberries and Cream, and Stonejura based on bloody Stonehenge for crying out loud. While these Pokemon are very much inspired by British things, their names aren't as British inspired. And honourable mentions to the final forms of the starter Pokemon, Rillaboom, Cinderace and Inteleon, who are inspired by British music, British sport and British fiction respectively. Rillaboom is supposed to be a drummer, Cinderace a football player, and Inteleon friggin' James Bond. Each generation tends to have a bird Pokemon for you to catch early in the game, and Sword and Shield are no different. Here we have Rookidee, Corvisquire and Corviknight. The first name of Rookidee relates to the Rook, the name for a castle in chess. Also, a Rook is a type of bird unto itself. However, the following evolutions of Corvisquire and Corviknight relate much more to Britain in the past. With Corvisquire we can see the word squire, which was the name given to those who helped knights, running errands for them and would eventually become knights themselves. And how a squire will become a knight, Corvisquire becomes a Corviknight, which is really nifty in my eyes. However, this isn't the only bird of Galar with a knighthood in their name. While Farfetch'd has been a Pokemon since the very start, this lucky duck has finally got himself an evolved form, with this being Sirfetch'd. Here his leek has become a Sword and Shield and the Pokemon as a whole is seen as being much more magnificent. Of course, this relates to the UK as knighthoods and men becoming sirs is a thing that still happens to this day, way beyond the age of chivalry. Many important people are dubbed as sirs here and it seems Sirfetch'd is one of them. As I mentioned, these games use a lot of British language, and this language choice even surfaces in the name of one of the Pokemon, that being Nickit, the cute fox Pokemon that is based on the thieving stereotype that foxes have. In British English, nick is actually another word for stealing something, so if you're going to steal something, you could say you were going to nick it, hence where this Pokemon's name comes from. Its evolved form's name of Thievul, however, is a bit more heavy-handed on the thief aspect of the creature. Britain has a history of coal mining, and this history is shown off the Pokemon Roly-Coly and its evolved forms of Carkol and Colossus. While these names are pretty easy to understand, it's actually the first one of Roly-Coly I consider most interesting. This name is the word Roly-Poly with the P being a C instead to reference coal. Roly-Poly has many meanings here in the UK. A Roly-Poly is a baby name for a forward roll here. It's also the name of a traditional British dessert, a jam roly-poly. However, it's also another name for the woodlouse creature here in Britain. And this is the one I think relates to Roly-Coly the most, as it's small and bug-like. wherever it comes from, roly-poly just seems like a very British word. I'm happy to see it here represented with roly-coly. And of course, something we all adore here in the UK is tea. And yes, Galar even blessed us with tea Pokemon. Two in fact. This is with Sinistee and its evolved form Poltegeist. These Pokemon are ghost types and their names are wonderful spooky tea puns. Sinistee is obviously a pun of sinister and Poltegeist is a pun of poltergeist. These are simply wonderful pun-filled names. Some of the names in Galar relate to the history of Britain and the various peoples who have settled here. Of course, Vikings settled in Britain. Around 800 AD to 1150 AD is considered the Viking Age of Britain, and this means we get a Viking Pokemon too. It's actually an evolved form of an older Pokemon, Meowth, who too has a new form. Of course, Vikings love to battle, and the fiercest Viking warriors were known as Berserkers. We have them to thank for the word Berserk. Here we have a feline Pokemon who is too a Berserker, so naturally it's called Perzerker. However, another name that relates to the military is Dreadnought. This is a bulky sea turtle Pokemon with a seriously strong jaw, hence the Gnaw part of the name. This name can simply be interpreted as a portmanteau of dread and gnaw. However, for those with working knowledge of the First World War, something else might come to mind, that being HMS Dreadnought, the battleship that changed the game of seafaring battle and led to an entire series of battleships being dubbed the Dreadnought. You can understand why this hulking beast that traversed the water's surface is named after another hulking beast that traverses the water's surface. Next up we have Indeedee, a Pokemon that looks different depending on if it's male or female. These Pokemon are supposed to be butlers and maids, a job role that is so often associated with the British. Many works of fiction set around the world feature butlers and maids who are British, with the best example having to be Alfred Pennyworth, the British butler of the American Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. And now that you understand that these Pokemon are supposed to be house staff, their name might make a little more sense, as if you were to ask your maid or butler to do something for you, I'm sure what they say would be indeed. But that's about it for Pokemon I wanted to cover from the latest games. Thank you very much for sticking around this long and allowing me to blabber on about this silly video game series I care so much about. And thank you to Game Freak for the attention to detail they gave my home nation. Now, if any of you guys have Shield, please get in touch. I got Sword and need some of the exclusive Pokemon still to complete my Pokedex. And of course, a huge thank you to The Ridge who sponsored today's video. Christmas is around the corner and perhaps you're scratching your head at what to get for someone you care for in your life. Well, the Ridge wallet could be the answer to your issue. The Ridge create cool everyday products at a quality you definitely don't see every day. Their most popular product is the Ridge wallet. A wallet made of steel might sound crazy, but with its sleek, untraditional design, the Ridge really pulled off something special with this. The Ridge were kind enough to send me one of their wallets, and it allows me to have all my important cards on me, some cash, and most importantly, none of the other junk I used to lug around in my old wallet. It's more than just wallets they make, however, they also make bags. The Ridge were kind enough to send me over one of their waterproof duffel bags. It's got loads of space and it's highly durable, absolutely perfect for a weekend away. I can't wait to get myself away and have the chance to use it. From their wallets to their bags and even their phone cases and wires, there'll be something the Ridge make that a loved one will get so much use out of as a Christmas gift. I love getting useful gifts like this. It's way better than just something that looks nice but just sits there gathering dust. And you can get 10% off that Christmas gift by visiting ridge.com/nameexplain and by using the promo code nameexplain, which will all be linked down below, for 10% off your order. So why don't you find that perfect Christmas gift right now by visiting ridge.com/nameexplain and by using the promo code nameexplain. Thank you once again to The Ridge for sponsoring today's video. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Name Explain depends on small monthly donations from fans like you to help keep the channel running. Just a small amount of $2 a month helps in a huge way, grants you patron exclusive Name Explain extras, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you. Hello all, and thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. Stick around and check out another video and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Name Explain. You can follow myself on Twitter at NameExplainYT. Follow me there and tweet the name Ash at me so I know you came from this message. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and once again thank you all so much.